So, you remember how we were talking about Rex Heuermann's DNA?
Yeah.
And how the police made a statement in a press conference that DNA was more complicated than just, like, getting arrested and giving DNA?
Yep.
That he had to be, like, for it to go in a database, he would have to be convicted, but to get a swab, like, they have to go through all this red tape. Well,
they have to get it approved by a judge and everything, even to get a swab, which still doesn't put it in the database until you're a convicted criminal.
Right. Mm-hmm. The judge has to rule that, yes, he has to give a DNA swab.
Yeah.
Which he did.
No way.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. He
has to give a DNA sample.
I'm not surprised. Oh, no, the judge.
The judge.
I thought you were saying that Rex approved it, gave his consent to it. Okay. So, yeah, I'm not surprised at all. I mean, come on. The evidence here is too good. Did you know every single one of those victims of his has his wife's hair on them?
Yeah.
Weird.
I know.
That makes me wonder if Rex was trying to set her up or using it against her if she ever found out. Like, hey, I know you found all this crazy stuff about me, and just to let you know, I planned ahead of time in case this day ever came, and your hair's on all their bodies, so you can't say nothing.
I know. I've wondered about that this whole time, because I've theorized, well, they do laundry together, like, they live in the same house.
Then
like,
why wasn't it his?
I find people's hairs on me, like, I have tons of times, but it is odd that it's on all of them.
It is super. I was weirded out from one of them. Then when I found out all of them...
You're talking about the 3.
Yeah, the 3 that he's charged with.
Right.
Not all of the victims on Gilgo Beach, the 3 that he's currently charged with.
Right, yeah. So, I mean, it basically says, here, I'll read the short statement real quick. The court finds that contrary to the defendant's contentions, there is probable cause to believe the defendant committed the crimes charged and therefore a basis to compel the buccal swab. The court finds that a comparison of the defendant's sample with evidence obtained, including a hair found on a victim he is accused of killing, the DNA found on the pizza crust napkin will yield probative material evidence, whether it's inculpatory or not.
Okay.
So... interesting.
That's a good thing.
I am really curious if this is going to be what ends up connecting him to the 4th.
It could be. Do you know if the 4th has DNA on it?
I'm not sure.
Me neither. I'm more curious how many he could be connected to across the country, because his cooldown period with these girls means there has to be more, you guys. So, like, believe it or not, serial enders end up functioning like very similar to natural instinct in an animal. They have urges and cooldown periods that follow a pattern, and it continues to follow this pattern up and down, up and down, up and down, cooldown period, and then obsession, cooldown period, obsession. And for him to have 3 that are so old from long ago with a cooldown period that's as short as it was, he has to have more. Has to.
I 100% think he has more.
Yeah, and he was already, like, doing the same things by talking to adult workers and things like that, where he was harassing them, making fun of them, putting them down, saying awful, horrible, threatening, mean things to them, reaching out to the victims' families, doing these horrible things that probably help him relive these crimes that he did over and over and over again. So I just think there has to be more.
I think so too. Absolutely. I don't know if the 4th victim has DNA on her. I'm assuming like they took the DNA from the pizza crust and compared it to one of the hairs on the body is what they did, and that's how they connected him, right? Like the 3 bodies.
So he's only connected by DNA to 1.
Okay, to 1.
Yeah.
So
the DNA is not even what's important in this case. I think So we're taught to think that DNA is like the end all be all. It is not, dude. I think the evidence that they have with the cell phones placing him in the same area as the burner phones every single time, with proof of his IP address being the one that's talking and threatening to all these adult workers, with these searches looking for very specific looking 12-year-old children being a victim to very specific things. Like, that's way worse than a DNA. Because DNA does not 100% mean you were there. We've seen that time and time and time and time again on cases where DNA can get places in other ways than being there. But how do you explain the cell phone searches and being at the burner phone location with the adult workers, you know?
Yeah, I'm just curious why the swab is important, like what they're going to be comparing it to. They did receive buccal swabs from the wife and the children. So, I mean, that's interesting.
I think they want it in the computer.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
Do they do that to every serial killer's family?
Probably.
Okay.
Yeah. I would judge them for not doing it.
Yeah, I think
you have to rule people out.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You have to.
Well, I guess also, like, if he has some of their DNA on him and then he touches the victim, like, some of their DNA could get on them, and they have to identify the DNA.
Yep. Be able to identify it or rule it out. Find out if, there's a lot more bodies on there that they haven't been able to connect him with evidence to. So, like, you got to rule out people close to him. You have to.
Yeah.
They wouldn't be doing their job if they didn't. So, I don't think that's a red flag for thinking, hey, how involved were the family members? I think that's just police doing their job. Sometimes police have to do things that are offensive. Other people might see them as victims like I do, and they were probably offended in that situation. But look, police are supposed to be there to protect the general public.
So what this really highlights for me is that they're continuing to investigate a ton. Yeah. And that's awesome.
Amazing.
It is amazing that they're trying to figure out who all he is responsible for ending.
That's what we were hoping. We've talked about it a couple different times, and we're hoping for that.
Yeah, because, like, there could be so many people out there that are gone that will never get tied to him if they were to just be like, okay, well, we got him. He's off the streets, so we don't really need to look into it anymore, spend any more money, because all this stuff costs money.
Yep. It sure does.
So the fact that they're, like, continuing to try to solve murders and find out if he was involved with these, people is, I think, really important and amazing.
Yeah. I mean, it's important for the social aspects of it, but it's also important for the police statistics, too, which is what they care the most about. I don't mean they care about that more than protecting people or victims. I mean, internally, it's one of the things that they care the most about is their close rates, left open cases, cold cases,
shutting
things
cold
like
cases,
that.
Yeah.
Yep. Mm-hmm. Like, those are important statistics to a police officer. That's a KPI, one of their key performance indicators. So, I would hope that they continue to do that. So. Yeah. And, I mean, I'm glad for the victims' families.
Yeah. 100%.